Right. Exercise 2.1. Convert the decimal numbers given below into binary numbers. Right. Simple A. What do we have? Number 4. So we have to convert this number into binary. So what do? We take 4 and divide it by 2. Right? 4 divided by 2, we know the quotient is 2, the remainder is 0. Again we will divide by 2, so the quotient will be 1 and the remainder will be 0. Then what do? We take these digits, right? So 1, 0, 0, what will be the base? 2. Right, simple B, what do we have? 9. So we repeat the same process, right? Take 9 and divide it by 2. How many 2's are there for 9? We can go up to 4, so the remainder will be 1. 4, again we will divide by 2. So the quotient will be 2 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide by 2. The quotient will be 1 and the remainder will be 0. Then we take these numbers. So 9 is equal to what? 1, 0, 0, 1 and the base is what? 2. Simple C, what do we have? 16. So we will take 16 and divide it by 2. So 8, no remainder. Again we will divide by 2. 4, no remainder. Again we will divide by 2. 2, no remainder. Again we will divide by 2. 1, no remainder. Always remember, we stop when we get 1 as the quotient. Then we take these numbers. So 16 is equal to what? 1 followed by 4 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. So this is 2. Okay, simple D. What do we have? 20. Right? So take 20 and we will divide it by 2. So we will get 10 with no remainder. Again divide by 2. So we will get 5 with no remainder. Again divide by 2. So we will get a 2 with 1 remainder. Again divide by 2. 1 with no remainder. Then we will take these numbers. So 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. 1, 0, 1, 0, 0 and the base is 2. Right? So in any case I will write the answer again. So 1, 0, 1, 0, 0 and the base is 2. E, we have 29. So take 29 and we will divide it by 2. So here we get what? 14 and 1 as a remainder. Again we will divide by 2. So we will get 7 with no remainder. Again we will divide by 2. So we will get 3 and 1 remainder. Again we will divide by 2. So we will get 1 and 1 as a remainder. Now we will stop the process because we got 1 as the quotient here. Okay, this is the remainder, this is the quotient, right? So now we will take these numbers. So 1, 1, 1, 0, 1 and the base is 2. So I write the answer again 1, 1, 1, 0, 1 and the base is 2. Right, F. So we have 35. Okay, so 35 we will divide by 2. So 17 and 1 as a remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So 8 and 1 as a remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So we will get 4 and no remainder. Again we will divide by 2. So we get 2 without any remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So we get 1 and no remainder. Then we take these numbers. So 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1 and the base is 2. So G, we have the number 43, right? So 43 we will divide this by 2. So we will get 21 and 1 remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So we will get 10 and 1 remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So we will get 5 and no remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So we will get 2 and 1 remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. So we will get 1 and no remainder. We will take these numbers. So 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1 and the base is what? 2. So 52 we will divide this by 2. So we will get 26 and no remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. 13 and no remainder. Again we will divide this by 2. 6 and 1 remainder, again we will divide this by 2. 3 and no remainder, again we will divide this by 2. 1 and 1 remainder. Right? So 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0 and the base is what? 2. Okay, so now we will have simple I part. So there we need to convert 97 into binary. So 97 base 10 into binary. Okay, so 97 we have to divide it by 2. So here we get what? 48 and a remainder of 1. 48 divided by 2, what do we get? 24 and a remainder of 0. 24 divided by 2, what do we get? 12 and a remainder of 0. 12 divided by 2, what do we get? 6 and a remainder of 0. 6 divided by 2, what do we get? 3 and a remainder of 0. 3 divided by 2, what do we get? 1 and a remainder of 1. 1 divided by 2, we get what? 0 and a remainder of 1. Okay, so now we will write all these numbers. So 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. So we can forget the leading 0 and the base is what? 2. Right, next one, J. So there we have 168 base 10. So we need to convert this into binary. That means 168 we need to divide it by 2. So we will be getting 84 and a remainder of 0. 84 divided by 2, we will be getting 42 and a remainder of 0. 42 divided by 2, we will be getting 21 and a remainder of 0. 21 divided by 2, that means 10 and a remainder of 1. 10 divided by 2, that means 5 and a remainder of 0. 5 divided by 2, that means 2 and a remainder of 1. 2 divided by 2, that means 1 and a remainder of 0. 1 divided by 2, that means 0 and a remainder of 1. So the answer will be 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1 followed by 3 zeros and the base will be what? 2. And we can erase the leading 0. Right, exercise 2.2. What do we have? Convert the binary numbers given below into base 10 numbers, right? Simple A, we have 1, 0, 1 and the base is what? 2. So this is 2 to the power 0 into 1, right? So this is 2 to the power 1 into 0 and this is 2 to the power 2 into 1. So 2 to the power 1 means what? 1, 1 into 1, right? Here we get a 0. 2 to the power 2 means what? 4, 4 into 1, right? So 1 into 1, we know that is 1, right? 4 into 1, we know that is 4. When we add these values together, we get 5. So here the answer is 5, but we have to write the base 10. B, 1, 1, 0, 1, the base is 2. Okay. 1, 1, 0, 1, the base is 2. So here we have what? 2 to the power 0 into 1. Okay. Here we have 2 to the power 1 into 0. Here we have 2 to the power 2 into 1. Here we have 2 to the power 3 into 1. 2 to the power 0, that means what? 1. 1 into 1. So we will get 1. Here 2 to the power 1 is 2. 2 into 0, what do we get? 0. 2 to the power 2, that is 4. 4 into 1, we get 4. 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 1, we get what? 8. When we add these numbers together, we get what? 13. So here the answer is what? 13. Don't forget to mention the base. Right, so I just lower the camera a bit, right? So when we add these values together, we get 13. So the answer is 13, but we have to mention the base, which is 10. Right, so C, we have given this number. So 1, 0, 1, 1, the base is 2. So this is 2 to the power 0 into 1. This is 2 to the power 1 into 1. So this is 2 to the power 2 into 0. And this is 2 to the power 3 into 1. Right? 2 to the power 0 means what? 1. 1 into 1. So we will get 1. 2 to the power 1, that is 2. 2 into 1, we will get 2. 2 to the power 2 is 4. 4 into 0, what do we get? 0. 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 1, we get what? 8. So when we add these values together, what do we get? 11. So this is equal to what? 11, the base is 10. Okay, simple D. So we have been given this number. So 1, 1, 0, 0, the base is what? 2. So 2 to the power 0 into 0. This is 2 to the power 1 into 0. This is 2 to the power 2 into 1. This is 2 to the power 3 into 1. Okay, so 2 to the power 0, that is 1. 1 into 0. So it will be 0. 2 to the power 1, that is 2. 2 into 0, we get what? 0. 2 to the power 2, that is 4. 4 into 1, we get what? 4. 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 1, that is what? 8. When we add these numbers together, we get what? 12. So this is equal to what? 12. Base is what? 10. Right, simple E. So we have this number. Okay. So, right. So this is 2 to the power 0 into 1. This is 2 to the power 1 into 1. This is 2 to the power 2 into 1. This is 2 to the power 3 into 1. This is 2 to the power 4 into 1. Right? So 2 to the power 0, that is 1. 1 into 1, what do we get? 1. 2 to the power 1, that is 2. 2 into 1, we get 2 to the power 2, that is 4. 4 into 1, that is 4. 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 1, 8. 2 to the power 4, that is 16. 16 into 1, that is 16. Right, so when we add these values together, 16 plus 4, that is 20. 8 plus 2, that is 10. 20 plus 10, that's 30. 30 plus 1, we get what? 31. So when we convert this into base 10, we get 31. And we have to mention the base 10. Right, F, we have been given this number. So this is 2 to the power 0 into 1. This is 2 to the power 1 into 1. This is 2 to the power 2 into 1. This is 2 to the power 3 into 0. This is 2 to the power 4 into 0. This is 2 to the power 5 into 1. So 2 to the power 0, that is 1. 1 into 1, what do we get? 1. 2 to the power 1, that is 2. 2 into 1, what do we get? 2. 2 to the power 2, that is 4. 4 into 1, we get 4. 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 0, we get 0. 2 to the power 4, that is 16. 16 into 0, we get 0. 2 to the power 5, that is 32. 32 into 1, we get what? 32. So when we add these values together, 32, 32 plus 4, that is 36. 36 plus 3, that is 39. So this is equal to what? 39, and the base is 10. Right, G. So we have been given this number. Okay. So 2 to the power 0 into 1. So this is 2 to the power 1 into 1. This is 2 to the power 2 into 1. This is 2 to the power 3 into 0. This is 2 to the power 4 into 1. And this will be 2 to the power 5 into 1. 2 to the power 0, that is 1. 1 into 1, what do we get? 1. 2 to the power 1, that is 2. 2 into 1, we get 2. 2 to the power 2, that is 4. 4 into 1, it will be 4. 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 0, we get 0. 2 to the power 4, that is 16. 16 into 1, we get what? 16. 2 to the power 5, that is 32. 32 into 1, we get what? 32. Right, so we will have to add these values together. So 16 plus 4, that is 20. 20 plus 3, that is 23. 23 plus 32, what is that? 55. So when we add these values, we get 55. So this is 55 and the base is what? 10. Right, so this is the next number that have been given to us. Right, so this is 2 to the power 0 into 0. This is 2 to the power 1 into 0. This is 2 to the power 2 into 0. This will be 2 to the power 3 into 1. and this will be 2 to the power 4 into 1, and this will be 2 to the power 5 into 1, right? So all these values will be equal to what? 0, right? 2 to the power 3, that is 8. 8 into 1, that will be 8. 2 to the power 4, that is 16. 16 into 1, that will be what? 16. 2 to the power 5, that is 32. 32 into 1, it will be what? 32. So when we add these values together, it will sum up to what? 32 plus 8, that is 40. 40 plus 16, it will be what? 56. So this is equal to 56 and the base is what? 10. Right, so this is I. So 2 to the power 0 into 0. 2 to the power 1 into 1. 2 to the power 2 into 1. 2 to the power 3 into 1. 2 to the power 4 into 1. 2 to the power 5 into 1. Right? So here the value is 0. 2 to the power 1 into 1, that is 2. 2 to the power 2 into 1, that is 4. 2 to the power 3 into 1, that is 8. 2 to the power 4 into 1, that is 16. 2 to the power 5 into 1, that is 32. So now we have to add all these values together. So 16 plus 4, that is 20. 8 plus 2, that is 10. 10 plus 32 plus 20. So here what do we get? 62, right? 62. So this is equal to what? 62 and the base is what? 10. Right. So this is J. This is the number that has been given to us, right? So 2 to the power 0 into 1. So this is 2 to the power 1 into 0. This is 2 to the power 2 into 0. This is 2 to the power 3 into 0. This is 2 to the power 4 into 1. This is 2 to the power 5 into 1. Right? So 2 to the power 0, that is 1. 1 into 1, what do we get? 1. So these three values will be 0. 2 to the power 4, it will be 16. 16 into 1 will be 16. 2 to the power 5, that is 32. 32 into 1, it will be what? 32. So when we add these values together, 32 plus 16, it will be 48. 48 plus 1, it will be 49. So this is equal to what? 49. Right, exercise 2.3, question number 1. Find the value. So we have to do some additions regarding binary numbers. Okay. So 1 plus 1, that is 2. So in binary we can't write the number 2. So what do we do? Take 2 and divide it by 2. 2 divided by 2, what do we get? Quotient as 1 and the remainder as 0. Then what do? We write this 0 under here. Then we push over this 1 to the next place. Right? So now we are at this point. So 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we have to add another 1. Right? Then what do we get? 2. Again the same thing, we can't write 2. So what do? We write 0, then push over this 1 to the next place. Right? Like this. So now we will first add these two digits. So 1 plus 1, it will be 2. To that we have to add another 1. To that 2, we have to add another 1. 2 plus 1, that becomes a 3. 3, just as number 2, we can't write in binary. So what do? Take 3 and divide it by 2. So what do we get? Quotient as 1 and the remainder as 1. So we write this one under here. Then the next one we will write in this manner. So what's the answer? 1, 1, 0, 0. The base is what? 2. Okay. So we come to the simple B part. Right. Question number 1, simple B. Okay. So here, we will start from here. So 1 plus 1, it's a 2. So what do? We can't write 2, we write 0. Then push over the remaining one to the other place. Right. So then we will add these two. Right. So 1 plus 1, that is again 2. To that we have to add a 1. So this becomes a 3. So in binary we can't write the number 3. Right? So what do? We write the 1, right? That's the remainder 1. Then we push over this 1 to the next place. Now we will add these 2 digits. So 1 plus 0, it becomes what? 1. To that we add another 1. Right? So this becomes what? 2. So just as before, what happens? We write 0, push over the remaining 1 to the other side. So here what happens? 0 plus 1, it becomes what? 1. To that we add another 1, it becomes what? 2. So we write 0, then we push this remaining 1 to the other side. Okay. So here we can put a 0 here since there is no digit on this place. So I can write 1 plus 0, it becomes 1. To that we have to add another 1, so it becomes a 2. So we can write 0, 1. So here the base is what? 2. Right, this is part C, so we'll start from here, right? So 1 plus 1, it becomes what? 2. So just as before, we can't write it. So we put a 0, then we push over the 1. Now we will add these 2 digits. So 1 plus 0, it becomes 1. To that we add another 1, so this becomes 2. So we write 0, push over the remaining 1. Again we will add these 2 digits. So 0 plus 1, it becomes what? 1. To that we add another 1. So this becomes what? 2. So we write 0, push over the remaining 1. Right? So now we will add these 2 digits. So 1 plus 1, it becomes 2. To that we add another 1. So this becomes what? 3. This 3, right? What do? We write this one, which is the remainder, then push over the other number 1 to the next position, right? So here we write 1, right? Now here we don't have any digit, right? So we can write 0 plus 1, it will be 1. To that we add another 1, so it becomes a 2. So 2 we can't write in binary, so we write it as what? 0, 1. And here the base is what? 2. So what is the answer? 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 2. Right. So simple D. So there the addition has been given to us in a horizontal manner. So we will write it in the column wise manner. Right. So 1, 1, 1, 0, 1. The base is 2. To that we have to add what? 1, 1, 1, 0. The base is what? 2. Okay. So 1 plus 0, that is 1. So we can write it. So 0 plus 1, that is 1. Again we can write it. Right? And 1 plus 1, that is 2. So we can't write 2. So what do? We write 0, then push over the 1. Okay? Then these 2 digits. Right? 1 plus 1, we know that is 2. To that we add a 1. So this becomes a 3. So we can't write 3 in binary. So what do? We write 1 and push over the. So here we don't have any digits. So we will put a 0. So 1 plus 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. So this becomes a 2. So we write that as what? 1, 0. Base 2. So this will be the answer. Okay, simple E. So there also we have been given the addition in horizontal manner. So we will have to write it in the column wise manner. So, right? So 1 plus 1, that is what? 2. So we put a 0, then push the 1 to the other place. So we take these 2 digits. So 1 plus 1, it becomes what? 2. To that we add another 1. So this becomes what? A 3. So we write 1 here, push over the 1. So here we have no digits. So we put a 0, right? So 0 plus 0, it's a 0. To that we add a 1. So it becomes a 1. Right? So here, no digit. So 0 plus 1, it becomes 1. Right? And here also we don't have any digits. So 1 plus 0, it becomes what? 1. So the base is what? 2. Right, so I will just lower the camera a bit. Right? So here you can see it is actually addition of these two digits, right? 1 plus 0, it becomes a 1. Okay, so we will start from here. 1 plus 1 plus 1, what is that? 3. So we will write 1, then push the 1 to the other place. So here we will put a 0 since there is no digit there. So 1 plus 1, it becomes 2. 2 plus 1, it becomes 3. So we write 1 and we push over the 1 to the other place. So we will put 2 zeros here since there are no digits, right? So 1 plus 0 plus 0, that is 1. 1 plus 0 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add another 1, so it becomes a 2. Right? So we put 0, then push over the 1. So again here I will put zeros since there are no placeholders there, right? So if we think about these three digits, it will be equal to what? 0. When we add them, it will be equal to 0. To that we add a 1. So this becomes what? 1. So here also I will put zeros since there are no placeholders, right? So this becomes what? 0. So here also I will put zeros, and when we add these together we get what? 1. So this will be the answer. So here 1 plus 1, that's a 2, right? 1 plus 1, it becomes a 2. So we put 0 and push over to the 1 to the other place. Then we will add these two. So 1 plus 1, it becomes a 2. To that we add another 1. So it becomes a 3. So we put a 1 and we push over the other 1 to the other place. Then I'll write a 0 here since there is no number there, right? So 0 plus 1, this becomes a 1. To that we add a 1, it becomes a 2. So here I can write what? 0 and 1. So this is base 2. Now this is not the answer. To this we need to add this part as well, right? Right, so 0 plus 1, it becomes a 1. Then we come to here. So 1 plus 1, it becomes a 2. So I will write 1, then push over the other 1 to the other place. So 0 plus 1, it becomes a 1. To that we add the 1, it becomes a 2. So again I write 0 here. Okay. So then we have what? 1 plus 1, which becomes a 2. To that we add the 1. So it becomes a 3. So I can write 1 and 1. So here the base is what? 2. So we will start adding from here. So 0 plus 1, it will be a 1. Then 1 plus 1, it will be a 2. So we will write 0 and push over the 1 to the other side, right? So 0 plus 1, it becomes a 1. To that we add a 1, so it becomes a 2. Right? So we put a 0 here, then push over the 1 to the other side. So then we have 1 plus 1, which will be a 2. To that we add the 1, so it becomes a 3. So we can write 1 and 1. So here the base will be what? 2. Right, so here we have to do this addition. So we will start from here. So 0 plus 0 plus 0, it will be a 0. So I'll put a 0 here. So now these three digits, 1 plus 1. So it will be a 3. So we will write 1 here, then push the other 1 to the other place. So 1 plus 1 plus 1, so it's a 3. To that we add a 1, so it becomes a 4. Right? So just as before, we know when we convert the number 4 into binary, it becomes what? 1, 0, 0, and the base becomes 2. Right? So here, when we add these four numbers together, we get a 4. So what do? We write the 0, then push over these two digits to the other side. Right? So I'll write them in a different color so it will be easier for you to see it. So now we will do the adding. And also here there is no digit, so I'll put a 0 there. Okay, so we will add these two. 1 plus 1 plus 0, it will be 2. To that we add what? A 0, so it will be a 2. So that means we can write 0 here. Then again we have to push the remaining one to the other side. Okay. Right. So now I will write 2 zeros because there are no numbers here. So here we have what? 1 plus 0 plus 0. So it will be a 1. Right. To that we add these two digits. So 1 plus 1 plus 1. So it becomes a 3. So 3 we know we can write as what? 1 and 1. So here the base is what? 2. So I'll just bring the camera down a bit. Right. Right. So here you can see I have done this addition. Right. So 1 plus 1 plus 0. So that is 2. To that we add this 0. So then we get a 2. 2 means what? 1 0. So what do? We put the 0, push over the 1. Right? So now we come to here. Right? So then what do? We add these 3 digits. So what do we get? A 1. To that we need to add 2 of 1s. Right? 2 of 1s. So we get what? A 3. So we know we can write 3 in binary as what? 1 and 1. We can do the addition partially. That means first of all we can add these two numbers, then get the total. To that total we can add the last number. So we will do it in that manner also. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 0 and the base is 2. Then we have 1, 1, 1, 0 and here the base is 2. So 0 plus 0 that's a 0. 1 plus 1 that's a 2. So we write 0, push over the 1. 1 plus 1 that is 2. Add the 1 it becomes a 3. So we write 1 here, push over the remaining 1. So 1 plus 1 that's a 2. Add the 1 it becomes what? 3. Then we write 1 here, then push over the remaining 0 to the other place. So I'll simply put a 0 here. So 1 plus 0 that's a 1. To that we add the 1. So it becomes what? 2. So this becomes 0 and 1. Now this is not the answer. We still have to add this number. Right. So 0 plus 0 that's a 0. 0 plus 1 that's a 1. 1 plus 1 that's a 2. So we write 0 then push over the 1 to the other side. So I'll put a 0 here. So 1 plus 0 that's a 1. To that we have to add a 1. So it becomes a 2. So we write 0. Then we have to push over the remaining one to the other place. So I'll put a 0 here. So 0 plus 0 that's a 0. To that we add a 1. So it becomes a 1. So here I'll put a 0 here. So 1 plus 0 it becomes a 1. So the base is what? 2. Okay, question number 2, what do we have? Fill each cage with the suitable digit. Question number 2, simple A. Fill each cage with a suitable digit. Right. So this is the first addition that we have. Right. So at a glance, we can come up with the number to here. What is that? It definitely must be what? 0, no? Right? So we can write 0 here. So 1 plus 0, we know it's a 1. So we can write it here. Then here what happens? 1 plus 1. 1 plus 1, that's a 2. When we get 2, what do? We write 1 and 0. So here we write 0, then push over the remaining one to the other side. So this will be the answer. So here, so the output is 0. So definitely the digit can't be 0. Why? 0 plus 1, we know the outcome is what? 1. So here it is 0. That means definitely it should be 1. 1 plus 1, we know it is 2. So what do? We write, when we convert 2 into binary, we get what? 1 and 0. Right? So we keep the 0, push over the 1. So here we have the 0. So that means this digit should be 1. Okay? So 1 plus 1, that is 2. So we write 0, then we push over the 1. Then 0 plus 1, it becomes a 1. To that we add this one, so it becomes a 2. So we write 0, push over the 1. Right? Now, here what do we have? We have the outcome as 1. Okay? That means definitely this number or the digit should be 1. Why? If we put 0 here, what happens? When we add these two digits, 1 plus 0, then it will be 1. To that we add a 1, so it will become what? 2. So if this digit is 0, when we do the addition, when we are done, right, this digit should be 0. But in this case it is 1. Then definitely the digit here should be what? 1. Okay? So 1 plus 1, we get what? 2. To that we add a 1. So it becomes a 3. Right? 3 we know when we convert into binary, it becomes what? 1 and 1. Right? So here the digit should be what? 1. Right. So here there is no digit. Right? So 1 plus 1, that is 2. So definitely this should be what? 0. Right. Simple C. So we have this incomplete addition. Okay. So here we have 0 now. That means definitely the digit here must be 1. Okay. So 1 plus 1, we know that's a 2. So we write 0, then push over the 1. Right. So we have to add these two values. So 0 plus 1, it's a 1. To that we add a 1, so it becomes a 2. So here we write 0, then push over the 1. So here we have a space. Here we have a 0. That means when we do the addition here, the outcome must be what? 2. That means this digit should be what? 1. Right? So if we add these two digits, 0 plus 1, it will be 1. To that we add the 1, so it will be 2. So 2 we write as what? 0. When we get the number 2, we write 0 here, then push over the 1 to the other side. Okay? So here we have 2 digits. There is no digit here. So 1 plus 1, that's a 2. Right? So here we have a 0 and the 1. This is base 2. Right. So this is another incomplete addition that has been given to us. Okay. So here the digit is 1. That means definitely here the digit should be what? 1. So here we have a 0. That means outcome must be equal to what? 2. So here the digit should be what? 1. Right? So if we consider these two digits, so 1 plus 1, that's a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the 1 to the next place. Right? So we will consider these two digits. So 1 plus 1, we get a 2. To that we add the 1. So this becomes a 3. So here the digit is what? 1. Right? So we have to pass over the other digit, which is 1, because we know when we convert 3 into binary, it becomes what? 1 and 1. Right? So we have to pass over the 1 to the next place. Right? So here there is no digit. So 1 plus 0, it becomes a 1. To that we add the 1, so it becomes a 2. So we write 0 and pass over the 1 to the other place. So this will be the answer. Right, so this is the next incomplete addition that we have to complete, right? So here we have a 0, that means definitely the digit here must be 1. Okay, so 1 plus 1, we know it's a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the remaining 1 to the other place. Now here the outcome is 0, right? And we have 2 digits. So definitely this should be what? 0. So if we add these two digits, 1 plus 0, it becomes what? 1. To that we add 1, so it becomes 2. So we write 0 and pass over the 1. Right? So now here also the digit is 0, then this should be what? 0. If we consider these two digits, 0 plus 1, it will be what? 1. To that we add the 1, so it will be 2. So we write 0, pass over the 1. Right? Now you can see that we have a 1 here, right? So that means definitely, and also if we add these two numbers, right? We have 1 plus 1, so we get a 2. So definitely this should be what? 0. Okay, so this is simple F. So we have to complete the incomplete addition, right? So 1 plus 0, what happens? It is 1. Okay, so here we have a 1. So here we have a 1. That means this should be what? 0. Right? So 1 plus 1, that's a 2. So we write 0 here, pass over the 1. So if we consider these two digits, 1 plus 1, it will be 2. To that we add the 1, so it will be 3. So we write 1 and pass over the remaining one to the other place. Right. Exercise 2.4. Question number 1. Find the value. Under that, simple A. So what do we have? Right. So here we have to do a subtraction. Right. So 1 minus 1, that means 0. 1 minus 1, that means 0. Right. So here there is no number, so we can put a 0 there as a placeholder. So 1 minus 0, that is 1. Don't forget to mention the base, which is 2. So this will be the answer. Right, simple B. So here what do we have? 0 minus 1. So 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we borrow this 1. That means this 0 becomes what? 2. So 2 minus 1, what do we get? 1. So here there was 1. Now there is none. Right? That means 0. So here the answer is what? 1 base 2. Right. So this is part C. So again we have to do a subtraction, right? So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 0 minus 0, right? There is nothing here. So this becomes what? 0. 1 minus 0, what is that? 1. Base is what? 2. Right. Simple D. So we have been given these two numbers to subtract, right? So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we borrow this 1. Then this 0 becomes what? 2. Right? When we borrow a 1, this 0, we are borrowing from here. So when we do that, this 0 becomes what? A 2. Right? So 2 minus 1, we get a 1. Right? Now, this one, it doesn't exist. Right? Here we have what? 0. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. So here, what's the answer? 1 0, base is what? 2. Right, simply. So we have been given these two numbers to subtract. Right? So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. Again 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. So here the base is what? 2. Right, simple F. So we have to simplify this subtraction. Right? So 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we borrow this one. Then this 0 becomes what? 2. 2 minus 1, what's the outcome? 1. So this one becomes what? 0. 0 minus 1 we can't do, just as before. So we borrow this one. Right? Then this 0 becomes what? 2. 2 minus 1, what do we get? 1. So here this 1 becomes a 0. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. So base is what? 2. And the answer is 1, 1, base is 2. Right. Simple G. Okay. So here also we have to do what? A subtraction. Right. So 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow a 1. So that one comes from here. Right. So then this 0 becomes what? 2. So 2 minus 1, we know that is 1. Right. So we know here the remaining digit will be 1. Here the remaining digit will be 0. So 1 minus 1 we know it's a 0. Right? So here at the moment we have 0. So 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow this one. Right? So when we do that, this 0 becomes what? 2. So 2 minus 1, that is what? 1. And the base is what? 2. Right, simple h. Okay. So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. Right. So here what do we have? 0 minus 1. So 0 minus 1 we can't do, so we have to borrow a 1. We have to borrow that 1 all the way from here. Right. So when we do that, this 0 becomes what? It becomes a 2. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. Right? Then this 0 becomes what? 1. This 0 becomes 1. This 1 becomes a 0. Right? So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 1 minus, here there is nothing. So 1 minus 0, that's a 1. Here also 0. Right? Now the remaining number here is 0. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. So the answer is what? 1, 0, 1, 0. Base is what? 2. So 0 minus 1 we can't do. Right? So we have to borrow a 1. So that 1 will be this one. Okay? So this 0 becomes what? A 2. 2 minus 1, what do we get? A 1. So here the remaining digit will be 1. Here the remaining digit will be 1. Here, here. In these two places also the remaining digit will be what? 1, 1. And this one becomes what? 0. Okay? So here 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 1 minus 0, that's a 0. 1 minus 0, that's a 0. Right? So this is also 0. So actually we don't need to write these three zeros. Right? So what's the answer? 1, 0, 1 and the base is 2. Right? J. Okay? So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. Here we will be getting what? 0. Here will be 0. So 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow a 1. Right? So we are borrowing this one. Okay? So then this 0 becomes what? 2. 2 minus 1, we get a what? 1. Right? And after that, this one becomes what? 0. So 0 minus 0, that is 0. And finally, what's the answer? 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, base is 2. 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow a 1. So we are borrowing from here. Right? So this becomes a 2. 2 minus 1, that is 1. Here the remaining digit will be 1. Here the remaining digit will be 1. Here the remaining digit will be 0. 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 1 minus 1, again we get a 0. 0 minus 1 we can't do. So what do? We borrow this one. Right? When we do that, this 0 becomes a 2 and this one becomes what? 0. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. Base is what? 2. So this will be the answer. Okay. Simple L. Right? 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow this one. Then this one becomes what? 0. So here we have a 2. 2 minus 1, we know that's a 1. So 0 minus 0, that's a 0. Here 0 minus 1 we can't do, so we will borrow this one. Then this one becomes a 0. This 0 becomes a 2. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. Right? Here 0 minus 1 we can't do, so we will borrow this 1. Then this 0 becomes a 2 and this one becomes a 0. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. So the answer is 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, base is 2. Okay, miscellaneous questions under that simple A. So we have to simplify this expression, right? So the first thing is we will take these two numbers and add them. Then from that we will subtract the final number. 1 plus 1, we know that's a 2. So we can't write 2 in binary. So we write 0, then pass over the remainder. So 0 plus 1, that's a 1. To that we add a 1. Again it becomes a 2. So what do? We write 0 and pass over the remainder. Then we will add these two. Right? So 1 plus 1 is a 2. To that we add another 1. So it becomes a 3. right? So 3 also we can't write, or we can't use in binary. So what do? We write 1, then pass over the remainder, right? So here we don't have any number, so we can put 0. So 1 plus 0, that's a 1. To that we add a 1, so it becomes what? A 2. So what do? We write 0, then pass over the remainder. So when we add these two numbers together, we get this as the answer. Now we are not done. We have to subtract this value. Okay, now we will subtract these two. So 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow a 1. So we will do that using this one, right? So when that happens, this 0 becomes a 2. So 2 minus 1, that's a 1. Here the remaining digit will be what? 1, and here the remaining digit will be 0. So 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. So here we have 0 minus 1. We can't do. So what do? We borrow a 1. Right? Then this 0 becomes a 2. This one becomes a 0. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. So finally we get the answer as what? 1, 0, 0, 1, and the base will be what? 2. Right. Simple B. So we have to simplify this expression. Right? So first of all we will add these two numbers. Right? So 1, 0, 1, the base is 2. To that we will add 1 and 1, base is 2. 1 plus 1, that's a 2. So we will write 0, then pass over the remainder. 0 plus 1, that's a 1. To that we add a 1. Right? So then again we will get what? 2. So we will write 0 and pass over the 1. So here we don't have any number. So we put a 0. 1 plus 0, that's a 1. To that we add a 1. Then we will get what? 2. So we will write 0 and 1. The base is what? 2. Now this is not the answer, right? This is the number that we get when we simplify this bracket. Now what do we have to do? We have to subtract this value from this number. Right, so 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 1 minus 1, that's a 0. So here there is no number, so 1 minus 0, that's a 1. So here the base will be what? 2. And the answer is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, and the base is 2. Okay, so we have been given this expression to simplify. So first of all, we will calculate what's the difference of these two numbers, right? So 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 0 minus 1 we can't do. So we have to borrow a 1. So we will borrow that 1 from this 1. Then this digit becomes a 2. 2 minus 1, that's a 1. So here this digit becomes what? A 1. And this digit becomes what? A 0. 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 0, and here we have nothing. So 0 minus 0, that's a 0 followed by a 1. Right? So that is base 2. Now this is not the answer. From this again we have to subtract this value. Okay, 1 minus 0 we get a 1. 1 minus 1, that's a 0. 1 minus 1, that's a 0. So here we have two zeros again, then followed by a 1. Base is 2. So this will be the answer. Okay, question number 2. Write the next number after adding 1 to each given number. Right. So 1 plus 1 we know that's a 2. Right. So we have to write 1, 0 and 2. Base is 2. Right. So this is the next number. 1 plus 1, that's a 2. So we write a 0. Then pass over the 1 to the next place. Okay. So here 1 plus 1, again this becomes what? 2. So we write 0 followed by a 1. Base is what? 2. Right, so this is the next number. So 1 plus 1, that's a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the remainder. So here we have the digit 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add the 1. Again, what do we get? 2. So we write 0 and pass over the remainder. So here we have 0. 1 plus 0, that's a 1. To that we add a 1. So this becomes 0 and 1. And the base is what? 2. Right, so this is the next number. 1 plus 1, that's a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the 1. Right? So here we have 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add the 1. So it becomes 2. So we write 0, then pass over the 1. So here this becomes 0. 1 plus 0, that's 1. To that we add a 1. Right? So it becomes a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the remainder. So here there is no number, so we can write 0. So 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. Again we can write 1 and 0. Right? So that will be the answer. Right, so 1 plus 1, that is 2. So we write 0, then pass over the remainder. So here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. Right? So again we get a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the 1. So here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. Right? So we will get a 2. So we write 0, then pass over the 1. So here this becomes 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. Right? So we write 0 and pass over the 1. So here we write 0. So 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. So it becomes what? 2. So we write 0 and 1. So here the base is what? 2. 1 plus 1, that is 2. So we write a 0, then pass over the remainder. So here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add the 1. So we write 0 and pass over the remainder. Here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add the 1. So we write 0 and pass over the remainder. Here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. Again we get a 2. So we write 0 and pass over the 1. So here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. So we write 0 and pass over the remainder. So here we have a 0. 1 plus 0, that is 1. To that we add a 1. So we will be getting 2. So again we write 0 and 1. And here the base is 2. Okay, question number 3. Represent the decimal number 4 to the power 2 as a binary number. Okay, so 4 to the power 2 means 4 into 4, which is 16. So basically, what do we have to do? We have to convert 16, which is in base 10, into base 2. So that means we have to divide 16 by 2. 16 divided by 2, we know the quotient is 8 and the remainder will be what? 0. Again we will divide this by 2. So the quotient will be 4 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide this by 2. So the quotient will be 2 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide this by 2. The quotient will be 1 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide this by 2. So here the quotient will be 0 and the remainder will be 1. Right. So then we will write these numbers in this order. Right. That means bottom to up. Right. So 0, 1 followed by how many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 and the base is 2. So we can erase this 0. Right. So this is the answer. That means when we convert 16, which is in base 10, right, we get the answer as 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, base 2. Question number 4 under that part 1. Simplify 49 base 10 minus 32 base 10 and convert the answer into binary number. Okay. So 49, that is in base 10, minus 32, that is in base 10. So basically this means what? 49 minus 32, no? So 9 minus 2, that's a 7. 4 minus 3, that's a 1. So that means here the answer is what? 17 base 10. Now we have to convert 17 into base 2. That means 17 we have to divide by 2. So here we get quotient as 8 and the remainder as 1. Again we will divide this by 2. So quotient will be 4, remainder will be 0. Again we will divide this by 2. Quotient will be 2, remainder will be 0. Again we will divide this by 2. So quotient will be 1 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide this by 2. So the quotient will be 0 and the remainder will be 1. So that means when we convert 17 into binary, right? So what is the number? 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. and we can erase the first 0 and the base is what? 2. Right. So since we need this number, right, for the part 2, I will just write it here 1 0 0 0 1 and the base is 2. Okay, part 2. Convert 49, which is in base 10, and 32, which is also in base 10, into binary numbers and find their difference. See whether the answer you obtain is the same as the answer in part 1 above. Right. Okay. So first of all, we will convert 49 into base 2. So 49, we will have to divide it by 2. So that means the quotient will be 24 and the remainder will be 1. Again we will divide it by 2. So the quotient will be 12 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide it by 2. The quotient will be 6 and the remainder is 0. Again we will divide it by 2 and the quotient will be 3 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide it by 2. The quotient will be 1 and the remainder will also be 1. Again we will divide it by 2. The quotient will be 0 and the remainder will be 1. So I'll just bring down the camera a bit so you all can see it clearly. Right. So that means when we convert 49, right, 49 which is in base 10 to base 2, it will be what? 1 1 0 0 0 and 1 base is what? 2. Then we will take 32. So 32, we have to convert that into base 2. 32 divided by 2, that is 16. So we will be getting a remainder of 0. Again 16 we will divide it by 2. So quotient will be 8 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide it by 2. So the quotient will be 4 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide it by 2. The quotient will be 2 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide it by 2. The quotient will be 1 and the remainder will be 0. Again we will divide it by 2. The quotient will be 0 and the remainder will be 1. That means when we convert 32, which is in base 10, to base 2, what do we get? 1 followed by 5 zeros. So here the base is 2. Right. So now what do we have to do? We have to take the difference of these two numbers and check whether we will be getting this value. Right. So 1 minus 0, that's a 1. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. 0 minus 0, that's a 0. 1 minus 0, that's a 1. So we can see these two answers are the same.